Hello everybody, MegZardX here, back at it again to give y'all another very exciting video. And for today, oh my goodness gracious, we got to talk about that recently announced PS5 Pro, because whole shoot, Mark Cerny came out in a little presentation. It was a short, sweet, simple, concise presentation, 9 minutes long. Didn't overdo it. In that regard, I thought it was a pretty good presentation. But what they managed to present up in this thing was they managed to talk about a few different things in terms of, like, the performance on the current PS5 base model and such, and some things that they wanted to improve and implement on with this newly announced PS5 Pro. It's been a little bit of time since the original reveal of it, since last week, and I just wanted to go through and talk about in today's video, are we currently at that point of the law of diminishing returns? Like, are we just getting that high up within the graphics and the performance where it's like the return investment up on there to the average consumer, especially to the casual people out there that just love to play gaming stuff that aren't necessarily in the ecosystem, kind of like how we are in terms of watching all these different YouTube videos and watching reviewers and stuff like that? Like, are we getting to that point where it's like the wow factor or the pop factor or the incentive to go out there and buy a pro version of already a somewhat running good already PS5 model base for the sticker shot of that $700 toasty dollars for a digital system? Is it worth the price to a lot of people out there outside the enthusiasts? So that's what I kind of want to go through and talk about within today's discussion right here. So if you hadn't already done so, make sure you're going to hit that like button, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that bell to stay up to date on all things video game related I feel like talking about and discussing. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight up into this video. So in that presentation that PlayStation managed to reveal, Mark Cerny came out, and luckily it was only 9 minutes long. And I felt like what he was talking about in that presentation was short, simple, and sweet, down to the point. So I like how it wasn't like a drawn out thing, because, if it would have gotten too much longer than what it was, then you probably would have lost some people already, even though that sticker shock at the end definitely did though. But I think one of the major things he was talking about in this presentation was like what the PS5 currently does versus what they wanted to kind of do. Obviously right now with the PS5, with pretty much any game you boot up into the system, you either toggling it to fidelity, where it's going to prioritize the visuals, or you're going to toggle it over to performance, where it's going to target, like the frame rate and stuff. And it's interesting how Mark Cerny came out in that statement saying how like 75% of all gamers, at least on their console, prefer to use the performance mode over fidelity. And I'm always a firm believer, at least in the games that I personally play, I always love my games running in performance mode, because I think my frames per second is the most important thing. I mean, I got like one 4K TV up in the house, but like the PS5 I have it hooked up to, it's not even to like a 4K TV. It's just 1080. I still love the visuals and stuff that I'm playing all my games on. Even like Astrobot that I'm playing through right now, it looks freaking good up on that system. Even Visions of Mana and such like that though. So yes, eventually I will upgrade the TV though, but I don't think, like, I've seen people play 4K games and stuff on TVs and stuff, and I'm like, it's nothing like super crazy or anything like that though. But there are people kind of like myself that are out there that are just playing it as just like a standard 1080p resolution though. I'm just saying though. But in his presentation, he said in order to kind of deliver that and be able to perform and have that 60 FPS as solid as it is, and to be able to increase the resolution, they did some things with the GPU, which is going to be stronger. They made some advancement to the ray tracing, along with some digital AI upscaling. The combination of those three things is going to be what it's going to achieve for the PS5 Pro to kind of give it the edge over the baseline PS5. And as he was going through this presentation, he's like, hey, look in the background and stuff and see how much sharper the leaves and stuff look in the background and such. They did some examples of that, like with Spider-Man 2 and also with Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. And I'm just over here sitting in the corner, I'm like, yeah, I noticed it. And granted, yes, this is a YouTube video and stuff, like you can't see like the great difference between some of these different things, because YouTube kind of compresses a lot of videos, especially with a live stream, or even with this, with it being pre-recorded and stuff. I mean, you're going to notice a greater difference with you actually having the hardware plugged up to your higher resolution TVs and such though. So I give it that though. However, even then, just looking in the background and stuff, it's like, how many of us actually like pay attention to the background to that degree? I mean, yes, you're gonna know some things though, but I mean, obviously the stuff that's happening in the background, at least to that small margin right there, not a lot of people are going to be paying attention to that. They're going to be more so focused on what's kind of playing out in the foreground and stuff, at least while you're going through and playing through it. Now, granted, yes, the PS5 does have different modes already where it kind of hits like a middle ground, where I think like games like Spider-Man 2, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, where they get like a little higher resolution, like 40 FPS, but they have some other things though. So there was always that compromise. So even with the PS5 Pro, what they're saying is we're going to keep it locked at 60, but they did not come out in the statement saying this is a solid 4K 60. They just said sharper, cleaner images. I think at best the resolution might be 1440p with 60 FPS. Be, you know, kind of basically getting up there to 2K, but I don't think it's going to be a solid 4K 60, which I think if they would have came out in a statement saying that, feel like a lot more people would have been incentivized to be like, all right, that's all I want. Like, that's what you can kind of do with most games on PC nowadays, though. If you can do that on console, that probably would have sold a lot of people. But they did not say that. They were careful about their word selection. So I was like, okay, this system isn't necessarily that. It's just a little sharper with a little bit better performance, but it's not going to be leaps and bounds better. Like, even when you go back and look at other systems, like from the PS4 to the PS4 Pro, at least with that, you had the upgrade with the 4K resolution, which you weren't able to actually really do on the baseline PS4. So it kind of made more sense for them to do it with that older generation versus kind of where we're at right now, where I just feel like with a lot of gamer or with a lot of game studios nowadays though, like the optimization for the stuff with the PS5, they're just not doing it as much to the point where I feel like it's possible to get 4K 60 games. It's just with the time crunches and stuff like that, and the size and scope of what they want their games to be, and then it leaves them in a situation where it's like, hey, do you prioritize performance or you prioritize like the fidelity and stuff? And that just kind of leaves us kind of where we're at in the industry. I'm like, dang, like we can't even manage to hit that. However, strikingly enough, Astrobot, the newest released on the block, actually runs at a solid 4K 60. So I mean, you can't say it's not possible to do with the baseline PS5. It's just all, you can have all the power in the world is what I'm basically saying though, but it's more like how do you utilize that power, how you optimize for it. And I feel like at least with a lot of gaming studios out there, they just don't have the time or the resources to actually fully commit to it, is what I'm basically saying though. So that's just kind of my overall thoughts on the presentation as a whole and kind of where I kind of stand in terms of, you know, with the PS5 to the PS5 Pro. But then we got to talk about some of the specs and stuff, at least what price point. Because shoot, for the PS5 Pro, it's going to release on November 7th, a week before my birthday, and it's going to be releasing for a toasty $700 in the US MSRP. That is not including tax, and that's for a digital only system. And I'm like, you have got to be freaking kidding me, Sony. $700. People now going back and looking at the original sticker price for the PS3 back in the day, and yeah, like that might have been like 600 and something like that though. I'm like, gosh dang, like I feel like we probably wouldn't even hit those eras now. I was fully prepared for this thing to be priced at 600 digital, maybe 700 if you slap the disc drive to it, but 700 for only digital, that's insane. If you want to play physical games with it, you can attach the, you know, the discless or the disc drive to it. However, that's an extra $80. So now you're looking at $780 to play all these games physical. Hey, if you want to stand the PS5 up vertically, hey, we got a stand for you. That costs an extra $30. So you're looking at an $810 package for the way how they kind of advertise that thing, kind of standing up there for you to be able to play it, physical games up on that mess. That's just ridiculous. Then you got the tax that added up on there though, and now you're almost getting close to like a mid 800, close to a $900 system. That is freaking insane right there. And I did some conversions and stuff, like it gets close to $1,000 if you happen to be living in Canada and stuff. Converting the yen over to dollars for Japan, like that's almost like an $850 system, and that's just for the system itself. So I'm like, oh shoot, like even now I'm looking at this and we're kind of getting the laws of diminishing returns and stuff, and they're asking for this high sticker price for the little bit of upgrades that you kind of get that aren't super substantial, at least in the casual eyes viewers and stuff. And I'm like, dang, like, you know, Nintendo, we know that their Switch 2 is going to be on the distant horizon here soon. It could be announced as early as this month or maybe next month, but sometime soon. And they already have like the cornerstone of the market for Japan. And hey, if you release that Nintendo Switch for like a value amount for like $400, the equivalent in yen over there in Japan. Hey, Sony and Microsoft basically giving Nintendo the W over there for the Japan region. I'm just saying no. So it'll be a very bad ball for them to fumble when it's literally almost just given to them, though. I'm just saying though. All right, so we talked about the stats and stuff, and we talked about the sticker price. Well, what about the games? At the end of the day, it's always going to come down to the games of what they're able to present and see, what is going to be able to take advantage of this PS5 Pro. So we have an early list of games, and obviously this is just a small collection. They're going to add more over time, but the list as it stands now for games that will support the PS5 Pro is as follows: Alan Wake 2, Assassin's Creed Shadows, Demon Souls, Dragon Dogma 2, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Gran Turismo 7, Hogwarts Legacy, Horizon Forbidden West, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, The Crew Motorfest, The First Descendant, The Last of Us Part 2 Remaster. That's all that is confirmed as of this point now. That should be ready to go on launch day, November 7th, when the system drops, though. Now, they also said other enhancements, including PS5 Pro Game Boost, which can apply to more than 8,500 backwards compatible PS4 games playable on the PS5 Pro. This feature may stabilize or improve performance of supported PS4 and PS5 games. Enhanced image quality for PS4 games is also available to improve the resolution on select PS4 games. PS5 Pro will also launch with the latest wireless technology, Wi-Fi 7, in territories supporting this standard. VRR and 8K gaming are also supported. I don't understand why they put that segment with 8K gaming, because like literally I think there's only like a couple of games that have like 8K games, and one of them is like an indie game and stuff. Fully well that not even Sony is going to mess around with 8K gaming, let alone with most third-party games. That might be a stray indie game here or there, though. So that's just word salad right there with that 8K tagging right there. However, also with this system, we do know it's also going to include 2 terabytes solid state drive, which thankfully that's an upgrade over like the current like 800-ish gigabytes that we normally have within the PS5 base model right now. So at least, they gave you a little extra storage, though, considering that this is only a digital system. But yeah, that's all the details I was able to, round up for all this info for the PS5 Pro. So that just kind of leads me back to my grand overall arching argument. Are we in the law of diminishing returns, especially within today's economy? I just don't see a lot of people going around and shelling out that much money for the PS5 Pro. Like, there's a good friend of mine that I know off of Discord, and he was like, yeah, I'm going to probably get the PS5 Pro as long as it has 4K 60. He looked at that sticker price for that $700. He's like, yeah, this ain't it, coach. Like, I'm bailing out. I ain't getting this thing no more. And I feel like that's probably been a lot of different people, even on Twitter. I saw so many different trends on Twitter for $700. Like, I saw that trending. Surprisingly enough, even the Switch 2 started trending again, along with the Nintendo Switch, though. I mean, that sticker shock hit a lot of people. It's kind of funny how they also, at the very end of that presentation, they briefly showed those prices, and that was like almost the last frame of the presentation, because they knew that, man, you were going to get some wide-eyed people just staring at that, though. And then it's kind of interesting, because I also wanted to pull up some stats from the PS4 Pro in comparison to the baseline PS4, because, this is like their second Pro model that PlayStation has put out. So apparently in the US, the PS4 Pro accounted for about 13% of PS4 family sales, according to Circana. So when you looked at that, and that system sold roughly about 117 million copies, or not copies, 117 million systems, and you're like, well, if that could sell like only 13% of that whole entire user base of the 117 million. I mean, that is just freaking insane, because when it's all said and done, that's roughly about 15 million consoles out of the 117-ish million that managed to sell PS5 Pros, or PS4 Pros, excuse me. So when I'm looking at this PS5 Pro, I feel like most of their sales is going to be made towards the very beginning of the launch. Like, you might get close around 5-ish or so million. I'm just throwing out a random number. But then outside of that, You will get a somewhat decent stream of people kind of getting in and out of it though, but it's probably not going to be nearly as many as the baseline sales for the PS5. Like that's a $200 increase from that to the from the baseline up to the Pro. And yes, I know a lot of people, if you really want this system, will probably trade in your system though, but it's like, man, it's like how many people are going to really try to invest that much of, like, it's a very marginal difference between the baseline PS5 and the Pro. I'm curious to see what different people are out there in terms of, you know, spec wise, like Digital Foundry, when they finally get their hands on impressions for this game and see what it actually truly brings though. But I mean, granted, how we're currently at with all this info we got with the PS5 Pro, even for Xbox's mid-gen refresh, with that system, they gave you a white digital Xbox Series X. But even with that, like, it didn't even have a disk drive up on it. It was like all digital and stuff. It's like that. This is a really odd mid-gen refresh era that we're kind of currently at. So right now, just depending on the price of where Nintendo puts their system, though, man, oh man, it might not even be a competition. All right, so that about does it in terms of my overall thoughts on what I think about the PS5 Pro. I gave you all the different specs and stuff about kind of what to expect, sticker price, the storage of it, what games are already, you know, running with the PS5 Pro enhancements up on the deck though. But y'all gotta let me know down in the comment section down below, because y'all are the true judges of whether or not this system is either gonna succeed or if it's gonna fail. Because I just don't know a lot of people that are willing to shell out like $700 for this mess. Like at that point, you invest, you know, save up a little bit more, like a few $100s, you probably have a good gaming PC at this point though. I mean, the lines between console and PC are probably as close as ever, and I don't even want to know what the cost of a PS6 will be based upon what they're sticking in this PS5 Pro whenever that launches in the distant future though. So y'all just gotta let me know in the comments though. But that's gonna basically do it in terms of today's video though. So if you really like this video, make sure you're gonna hit that like button, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that bell to stay up to date on all things video game related I feel like talking about and discussing. So remember y'all, until our video I make next, see y'all.